Yeah, feels good. Still something I'm dealing with. We'll probably be dealing with it for the next couple weeks, but it feels good.
Is it good that you're not, because this game was originally on Thursday, is it good to have a few
We would have been fine for that too. It's nice this time of year to have a couple extras, but it's also nice to have that little mini bye after a Thursday night game, so either one would have worked.
There's been a lot made of the viral clip of you and Zach, and you talked about it was just a frustrating day from the game on Sunday. But when you look at the conversation, Zach said that basically like that's just you and you don't accept anything below standard from anyone, and he wouldn't trade you for the world in having a leader like that. Do you feel like there needs to be more of that type of temperament for this team moving forward?
I think we can pick our spots to do that. There's definitely discussions had this week about what was good enough, what wasn't good enough from the game. I can probably do a better job of keeping my emotions in check in that situation. Like I said, it wasn't directed at Zach. It was just just a display of frustration of the day that I had, that we had as an offense, and how sloppy it was. We've had those discussions in-house and talked about what needs to be better and what was great too.
You've never been through a season where you've been in this spot really before. Are there things that you're learning about yourself on the fly a little bit in terms of handling some of these situations that are really new to you at this point in the year?
Yeah, you just like with anything, you get new reps at things, you grow and you learn from them. There's been a lot of challenges this year, a lot of adversity that we're fighting through, and doing some good things and doing some bad things. So just like any week, you grow and you learn from them, and try to make the most out of it. Can continue to stay disciplined and consistent in what you can do, and try to get better.
Joe, relative to that moment that the TV cameras caught at the end of the game, have you observed in that situation or any others where teammates have maybe responded in a productive way to, and I know you said you weren't singling out any teammates there, but, or it wasn't directed at Zach, but have you just noticed anyone, do you think people take, a cue or a message from moments like that when they see that you're, as a leader of this team, as upset as you were?
I hope so. I haven't had any of those direct discussions like that, but I always just try to display a championship mindset, and when things are good and good enough to do what we want to do, then I try to verbalize that, and when things aren't up to standard, in my opinion, I try to verbalize that as well. And like I said, I probably could have done that in a better way on Sunday, but I just hold myself and I hold our team to a high standard, and I expect greatness out of us, and when it's not that, I get frustrated. When it's not that from myself, when it's not that from everybody, I get frustrated. And it started with myself on Sunday. I got really frustrated at the turnovers that I was having, and then we piled on top of that with some mental mistakes, both from myself and from everybody else, and so that was frustrating. And we still did some great things. We put up 31 points on one of the top defenses in the league. We didn't have the ball a ton in the second half, but the first half we were moving it, we were hitting explosives, we were putting it in the end zone. So there was a lot of really good, but also some that wasn't up to standard.
How much for you has the season been about making sure that you kind of communicate what the standard should be for everybody in the building, that making it crystal clear, this is what I expect for us to be able to do week in, week out over the course of the season?
Yeah, you pick your spots to do that. It's been good enough in spots. It hasn't been good enough in spots. We're 6-8. It's obviously not good enough for where we want to be. And we're growing and improving. The young guys are starting to make some plays, so that's exciting. We just got to continue to grow and improve and, control what we can control and see where the rest plays out.
We see you chat with Lou a lot. In practice, you always make points of moment, say hello, or just kind of have a conversation. What's that relationship been like for you over the years as you've gotten to know him?
I love Lou. He's been great for us. He's a good friend to my family. He's a great friend to me. We talk about football, life, lots of different things, and he's one of the best coaches in the game. He's proven that. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year for everybody involved, but Lou gets the best out of guys. He brings good energy. He's fun to talk to. I got a lot of respect for him.
Joe, what's your biggest takeaway from the first matchup with the Browns?
Did some good things and did some things we wish we had back. I don't believe we turned the ball over that day. That was a positive. You can't turn the ball over against that team. Defense came up big that game. They played really, really well. We got to hold up our end of the bargain on offense. This week we got to limit 95 from wrecking the game. He can if you let him. We hit some plays. We got to hit some more.
What would it mean to sweep the Browns for the first time in your career?
It would just mean we want to know this week, one step closer to finishing the season how we want to.
You were talking about a few weeks ago about how maybe last week, how the injury to all was kind of changed with, the running game. And what you've gotten from Chase is almost kind of the way you use him in the pass game is almost kind of like you are running the ball out of three receivers and stuff like that. Is that, do you have to kind of envision how those throws are to Chase a little bit? Extension of the run game?
Yeah, our quick throws, we feel that way. But I would also say our run game has really taken a step over the last several weeks. Chase is running hard. Our line is really run blocking well. We've hit some explosive runs. Chase is breaking tackles and making plays in the run game and pass game. So that's been a very positive sign for the last couple weeks.
It's not just your body language, but Caleb Williams always has a lot of discourse around the way he is on the sideline as well. You feel like maybe much is made of quarterback's body language, or is that part of just the position and that kind of how you interact and how you are on the sideline that says a lot gets implemented to that point?
Yeah, it's an emotional game. I try to be as even keeled as I can, and when I have to be, I am. But when the game's out of reach, and we aren't doing the things that we need to do, in my opinion, then I'm going to get frustrated. Like I said, we're competitive people. It's an emotional game. We're leaving all we have out there, and sometimes things get a little heated. That's part of the game. You've seen that from everybody that's ever played in this league. Nobody's immune to it. Nobody gets sensitive or has hard feelings about it. It's just part of it.
When you were kind of learning how to be a QB or studying what it took to be a QB, was there a guy on the sideline you really admired in a way to take care of yourself?
Not anybody in particular, but I remember my dad always talking about people that handle it the right way, people that, we would always watch post-game interviews and he would comment on things here and there. I'm not sure if he was doing that intentionally, but that's something that I remember and, stuck with me. So, those parts of your life shape and mold you into the person that you are.
How much has he helped you this season, given that there's been a lot of challenges on the field?
My dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents are always there for me through good times and bad. And whether I need to vent or they need to vent or, multitude of things. They're always there for me in those tough moments, and I always appreciate that.
At what point in your life did you realize how important the demeanor side of it is to playing the position of quarterback? Like, when did you realize that it wasn't just about throwing the ball to the right receiver, and the demeanor side of it was important too?
Yeah, I would say early on, maybe high school, when you're taking some hits and you get right back up and go back to playing. But I would say the reaction of the defensive linemen when you just get popped right back up and get back to work, they get frustrated at that. They're hitting you and you're not giving them anything. And that was probably the first time I realized that you can have an effect and impact the game in a bunch of different ways.
Zach's reiterated throughout the year that ultimately this falls on his shoulders. What have you appreciated most about how he's handled the adversity this year, Joe?
Yeah, everybody's in a tough spot this year. A lot of adversity has hit. Zach is positive every day, comes to work and gives the best game plan possible. We always trust that as players, that the coaches are going to put in the work to put us in the best position to succeed, and they work really hard at that. And my discussions with Zach have been very productive. I always appreciate when the coaches get up in front of the team and tell us what's been good enough, what hasn't been good enough, and very clear in that respect. And I think we've done a good job of that.
When you're at the point,
Teams like the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, the Lions, all teams that made deep runs in the last couple of years and for the most part have sustained success every year. Is it frustrating for you that even on the years that when you guys have been very successful, that it's always been we have to claw to get in there at the end of the season, that you guys can't get yourself going earlier in the season so you could have a much different look into December than you have in years past?
Yeah, we haven't been good enough at the beginning of the year. That's no secret. We've started pretty similarly every single year, and that's disappointing. There's always been a large emphasis put on that at the beginning of the year, and you get behind the 8 ball, and then you have some injuries, and you get in a bad spot. So we got to be better in those spots at the beginning for sure.
Joe, are you paying attention to what needs to happen around you? Obviously, you need to win out to get to the playoffs, but do you know what else?
Big game tomorrow. Big game
Very
tomorrow.
aware.
when you're at the point where you're at, where you know the playoffs are on the table, but you know you do need a lot of outside help, how much do you allow yourself to pay attention to what's going on around the NFL? I mean, obviously you mentioned tomorrow is a very big game, but how much do you pay attention to those singular things?
You pay attention. Usually just after your game, you go and check. Things happen that you needed to happen. This is the time of year that you're always paying attention to that, whether you're in our spot or whether it's seeding and you're already in the playoffs. You're always paying attention.
Do you plan to watch that game tomorrow night?
Yeah. Until I fall asleep. It's a little late for me on a Thursday, so I'll usually watch the first half.
Go back to what you said a little bit earlier about kind of being on the sideline. You take a lot of pride in not letting folks know if you've been hit hard or like if a hit got to you a little bit. You take a lot of pride in not showing that.
Yeah, I do. I think you can, like I said, you can impact the game that way. Defensive linemen get frustrated when you get the ball out or you get hit and you get back up and you come back and do it again and continue to take them and you don't react to it. That's frustrating to a defense, and I take pride in doing that.
Do any defensive linemen ever say anything to you? Like at some point, is this going to hurt? Like, do they end up making a comment to you over the course of the game?
Sometimes here and there, yeah.
Back to when you and your dad were observing quarterbacks, who stood up to you? Who was the guy that made a big impression on you as you grew up?
We would always talk about Peyton, Tom, and Drew Brees. Drew Brees was my favorite quarterback growing up, and obviously I was a big fan of Peyton and Tom too. And they did it the right way, handled their careers the right way. Never threw anybody under the bus. Always had the demeanor and that you want to see from a quarterback. And just like I said before, it's those guys get heated on the sideline too, and that's part of the game. You can go see clips of all those guys getting frustrated. We put a lot into this. We work really hard to go out and play well on Sundays and put ourselves and our bodies in a great position to go out and perform. And when you don't feel like things are up to the standard, that gets frustrating. because we put so much work into this, and emotions run high. It's an emotional game.
You mentioned 3 guys, those 3 guys you mentioned. You've been in there, they've been in the conversation with you this last month. Does that caught your eye? The numbers you've been putting up are have been right there with those guys?
I haven't seen anything. I know I'm putting up good numbers this month. That's about all I know. I don't know about any comparisons or anything like that.
Do you think your reaction the other day is the same when you're in year 2 or year 3, or do you think part of it is?
I think there were a lot of different things that went into it. I think if that's a close game in it till the end, that's not how I'm reacting in that situation. Usually what happens when I get that frustrated is I'm frustrated in my own mistakes to start, and then we have control of a game against a team that I feel like we're better than, and if we're not playing up to my standard against a team like that, then that you have the luxury of being a little emotional on the sideline in that situation because the game's out of reach, and you don't have to go back out there and make a play to win the game. So I think there's a lot of different things that go into it.
What was Zach saying to you to try and settle you down or offer perspective?
He was just trying to tell me to be happy with the win. And I appreciate that about him because I can get lost in, just like everybody can, you get lost in the adversity of the season. You can't take winning for granted. And, I've tried to get better at that. And, Zach tries to help me get better at that. And I appreciate that about him. And it's tough for me sometimes. I want to be great. I want us to be great. And on offense, I want us to be perfect. And if we're not, that gets frustrating to me. And I do need to be better at just, if we win, be happy about it. It's hard to win in this league. And I can do a better job of, maybe showing that side of me on a Monday and enjoying the win right after, and rather than letting that boil over on the sideline.
Did you ever control the lip reading attempts that were some of them trying to get made?
The what?
Lip reading attempts in the video?
Oh, no, I didn't.
This team's been traditionally very good when it comes to not making penalties. And like the last 3 games kind of, boom, stick out. Is there anything that you can put your finger on? Or what?
Well, that's part of what was frustrating. That's not what we do. We're a disciplined football team that understands the rules, understands the cadence, understands what we're trying to do on every single play, and that's why, historically we've been good at that. But like you said, the last 3 weeks we have not. That needed to be addressed, and it's been addressed.
In any way, do you work on it in practice? What do you do?
It's just about maintaining focus through every snap, through the entire game. It's, I think, sometimes when you get into a game like that, you get up late. I forget what the score was at that point. But you have little mental lapses because you're like, oh, the game is won. We're trying to get in the end zone one more time, but game's won. I'm ready to get on the plane and go home. And I've fallen into that before. And you just have to maintain your mental focus through the triple zeros on the clock. That includes me. So that's something that we can all be better at.
How do you like to be coached? There's some people that like to be coached really hard and have people in their face, and that typically gets the best out of them. And there's some people that don't react well to that. So for you, how do you like to be coached?
Not that way. Not that way. I don't think that, there might be a place for that when you're a younger player, but I think when, you've proven that you can play at a high level, I think it's more of a collaborative effort, and, there's always good dialogue about, where I can be better and the things that I can improve on, and vice versa. So, I think those conversations are always productive.
There was a lot made of that interaction, obviously, because it was caught on camera and it was on live TV. Is that an example of something that happens a lot more than people realize? It's just, or is that actually an emotional moment that would have that you would have remembered moving forward? I don't know if you understand what I'm asking.
No, I know what you mean. It's it definitely happens. I wouldn't say it happens often. I laid out earlier the specific things that go into it. I don't often get that frustrated. Because usually the game's close and you got to stay in it, and you can't let your emotions get the best of you in that situation. At that point, there was about, I don't know, maybe a minute left on the clock. I knew my day was done, and our day was done on offense, and so, that's when then you start to reflect on how the day went, and in the moment I was just focusing on all the negative things that I did, that we did, and that was frustrating to me in that moment, and like I said, a lot of things go into it. Thanks, guys.
Clapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.